Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Fujan.
Break free from the forces holding you back. Get the life you deserve. Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, decrease depression, and start living your full potential. Thousands have used Dr. Fujan Zane's awareness integration theory, an evidence-based behavioral health breakthrough with incredible life-changing results. Getting rid of past trauma, having fulfilling relationships, increasing earnings, and living their best life. Now, the Fujan app is available to everyone. The app is Dr. Fujan Zane's awareness integration theory in the palm of your hand. Download the Fujan app today.
Do you wish to wake up one day and hit the Life Reset button? Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Fujan Zane, helps you navigate crucial life areas, heal the past traumas, and cultivate fulfilling relationships and careers. Life Reset is your guide to a profound journey to reshape your life. Grab your copy on Amazon or Audible now and embark on a path to a more joyous and fulfilled life.
Well, welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Fujan Zane, a psychotherapist and author, and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. I am thrilled to have you join us today for what I promise to be an insightful discussion. It's a discussion about a topic that everybody asks about, so I'm positive you'll enjoy it. In this episode, I chat with Faust. He is a psychologist who has been in private practice for over 35 years. Before entering private practice, he worked in clinics with deaf children, prisons, nursing homes, substance abuse centers, inpatient facilities, and is a consultant for major national and international corporations. He's a published research author and a professional clinical trainer. In the summer of 2016, he began developing the Fix Yourself Empowerment series of books based on the Process Life program to help readers address difficult situations in their lives. The series currently includes the Fix Yourself Handbook, the Fix Your Anxiety Handbook, and the Fix Your Depression Handbook. Today, we're going to talk about the fourth edition to this series, which is Fix Your Anger Handbook. Talk about different kinds of anger. How does it show up? And, is it an emotion and intellect together? How to calm your anger down? How to, giving you skills in what to do with your anger. So I'm positive you'll enjoy it as much as I did. Now, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, my YouTube channel, my podcast channel, and connect with me through my website, fujanzane.com, or any of my social media platforms. Go to fujan.com and get your app, Fujan app, which goes through the awareness integration theory and 31 areas of your life. You'll have skills there. You'll have meditation. You have, how to go through a journal, a guided journal. So be sure to do that. It's 7 days free. You can check it out and see if it works for you. So far, we've had amazing improvement where people say they've had up to 60% improvement in different areas of life, even just once going through it. So be sure to go. You can get it from Apple or Google, and or go to fujan.com and really read about it, and then go and upload it. All right. Share your thoughts with me. I love to hear from you. Seriously, I love to know what are the topics that you want to talk about. What are some of the issues that we could talk about and bring the experts, or that if I'm not an expert in it, bring the experts so they can share it with you. Now, without further ado, here's Faust Ruggiero, and let's talk about your anger.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Fujan Zane, and Dr. Manoukian, three experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, and decrease depression. Dr. Fujan Zane's awareness integration theory has helped thousands like you get incredible life-changing results. The Fujan app gives you her evidence-based treatment in the palm of your hand. Download today.
Well, welcome to the show, everyone. Faust Ruggiero. It is so nice to have you all the way from Pennsylvania.
Well, John, thanks so much for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be with you today.
First of all, thank you for putting up your series, because I think those are a couple of things that every single person that I've ever known has had to deal with, right? They've had to deal with their anxiety since childhood, especially, as we're growing up. I think everybody has probably experienced a bout of depression sometimes. And obviously, when we're a teenager or a young adult, most of the people have experienced bouts of it. If they're not necessarily, we're not even thinking about clinical depression, but just normal people go through that. And there isn't a human being that doesn't experience anger, and at times kind of suffers under their own anger. Not only that there's an experience inside, but also sometimes the consequences of anger. So first of all, again, thank you for putting all of this together. And as I was going through your book, the Fix Your Anger Handbook, it was beautiful that you explained kind of the different angles of anger. So before we get to do all of that, what got you to want to write this handbook, the 4 series?
Yeah, Fujan, in 2019, I finally got to the point after 35 years of counseling, that it's time to put it together and go a little bigger with it. So I did the Fix Yourself Handbook. After that, the pandemic hit, and of course now everyone is locked up. And then I started seeing the anxiety really begin to heighten. Depression followed. And then when I looked around the last year, I kind of thought this was going to happen. I'm sure you did too. We're going to get angry. Things have changed. The economy is different. Nothing is stable. Now people are attacking each other. And all I want people to do is understand what anger is, just like depression or anxiety. Here are all the various kinds of anger. Here's what you can do about each one of those. I like to be very action-oriented when I write. So, I keep the chapters small because today's readers don't have the attention span for 40 pages. They just don't. So we do it in 6 or 7 or 8, and then we give action steps. And now do this. It seems to be working well.
It does. I really get that point. I was told just don't worry about Facebook or anything else or LinkedIn. Just go to TikTok and do anything you want in 1 minute. I'm like, okay, it's a great training for us, because having to shift the message that we want to offer, or we've received all these 35 years, and put it in such a short bite. But I totally agree with you. So what you have done in this book is actually explained from a couple of different layers, which I think is very important. One is to look at anger as a feeling, but also look at how to bring your intellect into the anger and how to utilize the anger from both sides. I think most of the people, because it's a feeling, they experience it, but they're not necessarily used to or know how to kind of bring these two parts of them together. So can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. When you talk, what I like people to understand when we talk about anger is that, we call it a feeling, but that's really the culmination of what happens. That, we feel it, but what's brewing, what's bringing it on? What are the undercurrents? What are the things that trigger the emotion? That's what I want people to understand. It definitely is a feeling. It's an emotion. There's no doubt about that. But some people control it a little better than others. Why? And then we start going into those kinds of things. And I like to get people to understand that if you can just back down a little bit and get your brain flowing and start asking the questions, and before I get angry, before I respond here, what's going on? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Where did it come from? And when we get deeper into the program, what are the connectors? What did I, what's it connecting to? Was, this trauma, or this person who bullied me, or that person who, in the family did these things, whatever they may be. Because the thing about anger is it's very rarely, it doesn't relegate itself just to the situation we're in. It often connects to old friends, so to speak. And then when it comes out far stronger than it needs to.
Yes, I remember personally, I was not in tune for many, many years into my body, and I see this a lot with my clients and friends, that your body language, your body's telling you already, we're getting tense, emotions are coming up, and we have possibly even habitual ways of sharing, the tones change and all of it, and everybody else gets to know that we're angry. And half the time I'm sure you've got to that, it's like, you're angry, and like, no, I'm not. So sometimes there's a denial about it, or it's such a habitual way of being that we don't necessarily attach some of this thought process and emotional process to anger. I've known people who, their mate said, you're angry, and like, you haven't even seen anger. This isn't anger. So for them, anger only goes beyond the threshold, as if like before that, they don't consider it anger.
And you're right on the mark. I talk about physiological anger a lot, and the body tends to gravitate toward anger faster than the mind does. Because it's that fight or flight thing. The body has to prepare for what's going to happen, and the muscles are going to tighten up. Skeletal system is ready. The senses are more acute, and so other people see that and they say. And they don't know we're angry. They know that something's changing. We're accelerating. You're angry, they say. And we say, no, because we haven't gotten to the point that our brain says, yeah, I'm there. And the other thing is that threshold. For some people, for me, a threshold might be a 2 because I am very in tune with my body. But for another person, it might be a 6 or it might be a 7 until they say, I'm angry now, not knowing that the anger started. Could be minutes before, could be hours before, depending on which type of anger we're dealing with. I mean, you get some of the slow angers, like passive aggressive anger, that could be hours, that could be days, so it depends. It's the rapid versus the type of anger that simmers. But other people, often people that know us, will know our baseline changed. And all of a sudden,
I often find out about the passive aggressive anger with the response of the other person. Like, it's like such a low chronic one sometimes that, if you're not strategizing it yourself, and it's so subconscious to yourself in the passive aggressiveness, that it's almost like shows up as normal to you, and then you see the impact on the other human being, which is in front of you, which they're like, they just felt a stab, and that's when they usually have a reaction, and we could be in the space of a victim, like, what did I do? So you could see a lot of times people are not aware of their sarcasm or their microaggressions, or a lot of those people are usually more aware of their microaggression, the way it shows up, or they're strategizing. Like you talk about verbal anger, which is purposeful, it's like it holds control, or they strategize it because they want to raise their voice. And there was a research that says that when people raise their voice, they look bigger and they look more powerful. So it's a strategy that we have sometimes in doing that, but also the unconscious strategies that sometimes comes in, and we're not aware until the impact hits.
It's interesting you said that. When the anger hits, the body inflames. It gets everything inside. So, but the brain then interprets it as bigger, and then it communicates that. And so, and you're right. I have counsel people who, as I'm talking to them, I say, you're using this. This is what I call anger for profit. You've now gotten to the point with your anger that you are strategizing. You're learning how to use that as a tool in your life. But the problem is, and you might be successful, but the problem is you're always angry. And that's not happiness. That's not tranquility. That's not power. That's the other thing. Anger is not power. I'm sure you and I both know it's born out of fear and insecurity. If you didn't have those, you would have no need to use the anger. And that's what I try to communicate to people when they say, well, no, if I have to make them know. I said, no, you really don't. You can back down, because the response is when someone's screaming or angry, the other person's backing off, and all they're saying is, let me get out of here. I don't want to hear what you're saying. I just want out of this situation. So you're not getting your point across, which means you get angry over and over and over again until the person checks out altogether. Most of the time, I think anger is saying, I want to communicate with you. I don't know how. I've got all these other things that are coming out at the same time. I'm getting angry, I'm getting frustrated, I'm accelerating, so I deliver it in a horrible fashion. But all I really want to do is say, I need this, or can you help me with this, or at least let me express this feeling, and people don't know how.
I remember I lived in Malibu, which was just this gorgeous place with ocean view. And my office was in the San Fernando Valley, where I had to go through these kind of like gorgeous mountains in order to get to my office every day. And then I would notice, Faust, that I would be sitting there going at it, and even my hands would go like this, like I would fight with the world somehow in my head. Like even, I would bring somebody in my head that I wasn't, the communication was not complete, and I would bring that person into my world, and then I would fight with them. And at one point, I actually noticed my hands going. I'm like, who are you fighting? They're not even here. And then suddenly it was like, look, I am not really alive. I'm not even living in this world. I am living into this concept of anger that is there. But I noticed that it was giving me a lot of power. And I work with a lot of clients where the anger just gives them power. So it becomes this umbrella under it, which you've shared in your book, that you could put frustration under it, you could put anxiety under it, everything goes under it. But because some of those emotions are not feeling powerful, we feel vulnerable with them. I had gotten used to, like, my protection was the anger, where I would have to feel my anger in order to protect myself. But then it happened exactly the same way when you shared, where I would live in that world of anger continuously, because that's the only thing I knew as far as a powerful emotion. Can you share a bit about that?
Absolutely. And we've all been there, but very few of us like to admit that. It's that talking to yourself thing, and in the books, I call it ghost screaming. There's nobody here with us, and we are now in a full-blown conversation with the person. We're screaming at them. We're yelling in our minds. You're right. The hands go. If you're at home, you might be walking around and doing the whole thing, just like you were. And what the mind is trying to do, as I see it, is it's trying to settle this thing. And again, you're using anger, so it keeps repeating itself. But the mind tries to settle it, so it's having the conversation as if it wants to settle the argument, which goes back to what I said. We're just trying to settle it, get it out of the way. We don't do that, and we do this with ourselves to somehow feel better, but for me, when that would happen, I always felt that much worse. You could feel the physical things. The heart starts to go faster. For some people, they'll get a headache, and then you're just not happy. It could ruin segments of your day because you're doing that, when what you really need to do is simply say to the person, do you mind if I talk to you? If it's a dangerous situation, okay, I understand. But other than that, you go and say, I've got something on my mind. And when they do that, they come back and say, I don't know why I just didn't bring this out, because it wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. We all do this. And that's a big takeaway from the books and from what you and I do. We all do it. There's nothing wrong with the fact that we do it. We just have to get better at doing it. That's all.
There is this concept, which I'm sure you've heard many people share and say in our offices, I can't control this. Shows up. There's nothing I can do. I really don't want to react that way. When you share in one of the chapters, like a reactive anger, and they're like, well, if you just don't piss me off, obviously this isn't going to happen. So it's on you, because I can't control this. This is natural to me. So you stop poking at me, you stop triggering me, so that I can be okay. And although sometimes anger is a powerful experience, but a lot of people don't feel that they're in power of it, in control of it, actually.
We hear that all the time when we counsel people. I can't control it. I see red. I go from 0 to 60, and all those things. And you're right. The next thing they do is they say, if you just wouldn't, I get like this. And I say, okay, look at what you just said. You know you get like that. They press your buttons. You know there's a button there. Let's go find out what that button is connected to. That's when the light goes on. I said, you do have control. There's a switch, there's a button, whatever you want to call it. We have to go see what happens. And as I go back and work with them, they'll eventually say that something happens the same way all the time, regardless of what situation they were in. Something happens. I say, okay, let's stop right there. When that happens, let's go back and let's start by what you're feeling at that moment beside rage. Talk to me about old things, about what happens to you when this particular event occurs. Then we start uncovering some things. If they're smart enough to realize that they can't stop it, they know there's a button there. We can go get the button. It's the people who refuse and say, I'm like this, I'm never going to change, so deal with it.
Right.
And those can be the dangerous people. But the rest of the people, they're looking for something. And I think oftentimes that 0 to 60, that I can't control it, is the initial cry out. But it comes out with power like everything else they do.
Yeah.
I always treat my angry people as scared people.
Yes, and sad. As we were talking, I also remembered, for example, for me, and I share a lot personally, because I think that we all share similar experiences. So I remember my parents were so angry and I watched them fight so much that at some point I had made a decision that I don't like anger, so I wasn't gonna express it that way. So it was more like I was just gonna calm down everything. And but I did not respect the anger from that person. It felt dangerous, but that didn't mean that the anger went away. It just meant that I pushed it into the sadness, for example, or if the fear was there or the sadness was there and I wasn't experiencing it. And then I remember the years that I went into therapy in my 20s and stuff. And there was a time where I went from one extreme of the pendulum extremely to the other side of the pendulum. And it was like, if you dare say anything now, it was going to be out. So going from one end to the other and finally finding the balance in what it was. And then I'll share when we get to the later talk. And then at one point I just decided I'm not going to foster it anymore. But I also think we see this a lot when people are turning it in, which turns into that passive aggressiveness or turns into depression or a lot of anxiety. And for example, I worked with domestic violence for a long time, right? For people who were the perpetrators and they were angry and, doing the harm. And then the other person who felt like it was a victim and was holding their anger and, showed it in different ways. And the process of honoring your anger and putting it into a healthy perspective is so important for our life to go forward and for us to be to be honoring ourselves and other people in the communication and relationships.
And that's where we want to take them. And I agree with that. I start that whole process by saying, what you do is what we all do. Don't get down on yourself. Let's look at where you want to go. There is absolutely a route to get there. We will get you there. You will make some strides. You will have some regression. Welcome to the club. And they'll also they'll say to me, well, you probably don't do any of this. And I just look at them and say, I'm in the soup with you. I have a few extra paddles to get around, but I didn't trade my body in for one that doesn't respond. We have all this. So when you're going to honor yourself, you have to be able to say, I think, you know what? I am a good person. I've got these things that I do that I don't like, and maybe I sabotage the quality of my life by using them. That does not define a bad person. That's a good person who has a few flaws. I worked in prison for about 5 years counseling people, and they were great people. They were wonderful people. They had crazy ways of thinking, or they were abused, or whatever it may be. Also with domestic violence, I've done a lot of work with that over the years. And when I'm getting beat up, I'm the victim. There must be something wrong with me, or I'm the guy that did it. So there's definitely something wrong with me. Once I get them past that, then they say, okay, there's stuff in me I could work with,
Yeah.
and I'll use that as my foundation and move forward. And then, as you know, that's when we build the trust rapport and we say, okay, I got you. Just follow along.
Yes.
And we're going to be fine.
I think one of the hardest ones has been to work with the righteous anger, the one that people think they have the right to, and they've convinced themselves. Partially could have been the way that they were raised, that their family, whenever they were angry, they folded, or they said you're right and gave it to them. Or they used it as a profit, as you shared at the beginning, where it gave them a profit. At one point, they became angry and they utilized the righteousness and the entitlement that they have. And they got what they needed. So they kept going with the entitlement, and it was going. And that has been one of the hardest one for the person to see the damage that it has personally, for them to be able to want to let it go. What are your thoughts about the righteous anger?
I think for most of us, the type of anger we like to work with least is righteous anger, because it firmly believes it's right. And it can come from very important places. There's social injustices. There's human trafficking, as example. And I'm angry about this, and then okay, what am I going to do about it? But it has a tendency, I think, to be an attention-getting behavior. I think it likes to see itself as above the crowd, and looking down on other people. To me, it's just an insecure reaction from someone who needs attention, who has maybe been kicked around a little bit. And in some cases, that self-righteous anger is nothing more than entitlement. I came from this. I believe that's the way, but I don't want to be that stuffy, stuck-up person. So I'll attach to a cause, and now I can go there. But it's interesting, the one defining measure I see in most self-righteous anger is their engagement factor is not very deep. They are verbal, but they don't often get their hands dirty. They don't get in there and really say, okay, fine, I'm angry about this, but let me see what I can do. Let me go and work that whole cause, I don't have to talk then. I know I'm doing something. They don't go there. That's always the key. That's why I say it's attention getting. It's a lot of entitlement. It's all that surface stuff, and hard to change, because as far as they're concerned, they're right, and they're attaching to a righteous cause. So how can they not be right? They say.
Exactly. Everyone, fix Your Anger Handbook. So if you are dealing with anger that it doesn't work for you, let's say, or it doesn't work for people around you, and I think that probably ultimately doesn't work for you, helping to bring peace and sanity into a turbulent world, by Faust and Ruggiero. I remember at one point, and it showed up after I really realized how much I'm consuming a lot of those hours into, angry thoughts, and I would turn everything into angry thoughts. I told myself I don't give myself permission anymore to foster or stay angry. So obviously anger is an emotion that shows up, and I want to honor it. But after I got the message from it, then I don't need to brew it anymore, because it was more like, when I'm sitting somewhere, the person is not even there and I'm going at it, I'm brewing this now. This has nothing to do with the triggers. So there's a brewing that is happening inside, which, I'm not dealing with the actual cause, like you said. So there's something else that is causing this, and I'm just on the surface pounding and harping and wanting to, be significant and win the game and win the argument. So at one point, I took the right to stay angry from myself. And it was an interesting shift. It was an interesting shift is that was like, where is it that I need to know? And although there's a part of me that was like, no, but, and then I had to come back and shift it into saying like, and I think part of it is what you said, which is you shifted into your intellect, which is I honor you as an emotion, but I need to know what your message is and then deal with whatever that message is instead of just, brewing this kind of emotion, which is not good for my body anyway. And I know that the second half of your book, although the first half is explaining a lot of the anger, which is shared about in details. And the second part of the book really goes into giving people, the reader, specific ways of handling their body, their physiology, their intellect, how to deal with it. So can you share a bit about that?
Sure. It's interesting when you said permission. I remember 30 years ago, 40 years ago, working with people who with weight issues, and I say, stop giving yourself permission to do that, to buy this, to eat that. And then it clicked. That can generalize to so many things we need to do. I'm the same as you. I said to myself one day, I don't give myself permission to do this anymore. And I stopped. And then and it's what I call the purging process. Let's get the negative stuff that I'm doing out of the way so I have room to bring the positive in. And that addresses the question you just asked. What do we do? Well, I look at anger, first of all, physically. We've got to take care of our bodies. That's, when someone comes in and says, geez, I'm angry and I can't stop it. The first thing I'll say is, let's talk about your diet. What are you putting in your body? How much caffeine is going in there? The cigarettes, they'll say, well, yeah, but now I have a marijuana card. And I said, no, that just takes you down. And then you go into withdrawal, then you go do it again. And it's a back and forth process. It's going to make your body feel unstable. That feeds into anger because it doesn't give you the tranquility you need. And we go through all that. We talk about sleep and exercise. We talk about emotions. That's what the next thing you've got to do is take care of your emotions. Anger is an emotion, however, and we want to give it its say. We want to honor it, but it has to occur in the proper succession. Intellect first. Then you will emote on facts, not on that quick reaction, because anger is fast. It happens, we see it, we feel it, we deliver. If we can back that down a little bit, and give our brain enough time to give it the energy actually first, because people are when I ask people where do your emotions reside, they start talking about the heart. I said it's all in your head. You need all of it. The brain, the emotions are all processed there. Where are you giving the energy first? Now, when they make that distinction, it's not the Hallmark stuff, all that crap. It is in your head. They say, okay, it's not about giving more or less, just about giving it first. If you do that, what you've done is you've already said, first of all, you hit the pause button. You're not angry. At that moment, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? Where's it coming from? What did they do? How do I want to deal with this? Not too many people answer that question by saying, I want to go hit them and do. They sit back and they start thinking about me. What am I feeling? What do I want to do about it? How can I feel better? When you do all that, you're really positioning yourself to deal with this. If you're a person of faith and you deal with the spiritual part of things, wonderful. The other thing I tell people is if you're waiting for the anger to hit and then you're going to use all these tools I'm giving you, you already lost. You've got to use them every day of your life. You're going to, take care of your body. Do breathing exercises so you learn how to calm down, because when that happens, when the anger hits, you may go, let me decelerate. If you want to do yoga, or you want to do meditation, you want to pray, whatever it is, put these things in your life every day of your life, all the time. I'll do breathing exercises, I don't know, 30, 40 times a day. It takes 2 minutes. But what it does is it fills the body with the oxygen that we need, and it decompresses. It slows everything down. So I tell them, and the people that do this come back and say, I can't believe these stupid little things are working. I said, it's changing your life every day, not just when you get angry. Well, if you don't change the rest of it, when you get angry, you're going to go back to the rest of it, which is angry. So you want to be able to incorporate a more peaceful way of life all the time. That's what I'm teaching, really.
It's wonderful because it's true. I'm sure people who are with us have heard the word hangry, which when they're hungry, they get angry, they get frustrated. Their body is not, in a calm state. When they haven't slept, they're angry. When they're stressed, they're angry. So you're absolutely right that when they do a lifestyle check and see what is it that I do all day and how I do it, and does it add to this part of me that is frustrated, and the frustration shows up, and if it's too much stress, then it shows up as anger all over the place. So the concept of looking at a bigger picture versus just one emotion is very important, as you say, in order to calm it down and calm your whole life down from that perspective. I want to switch it a little bit. And it's, how do you handle other people's anger? Like, you could control yourself, you could do all of that. And then, there's people who are angry. There are people who, the same way, they might have a righteous anger, they might have passive aggressive anger, they might have a lot of issues. They might be, have narcissists who are, you didn't give them what they wanted, so they, unleash their anger, which is an entitlement anger at you. How do you handle other people's anger? Because not only that, okay, you could keep calming down, but there's so much more to it, right? Like, the concept of you not getting reactive, to setting how to set boundaries, and how, even when I worked with domestic violence, I was talking about the victim, and how, without knowing, they're provoking that concept of anger. So it's also looking at, when I'm in the world with other human beings who this emotion is a regular emotion that shows up, how do I handle that? Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. First, we know the world is dynamic. It'd be great if we could get better and then the whole world got better with us. I haven't figured that part of my practice out yet. But
We're working on it.
But what I tell people is, you're going to leave the house, you go to work, you can go to the store and be standing in line and someone's angry. They're all going to be there. That's the first thing. You have to make that decision. I know when I go out, angry people will be there. So I make a decision before I leave, before I interact with people. What happens if? So that's conscious in my head. An analogy, for example, anytime I go out, I'm driving. Road rage is everywhere. People are pulling out in front of you. Hands are going out the window. People are screaming. How am I going to deal with it? I have it in my mind already. If they want to, if I'm going the speed limit and they think they shouldn't, I'll pull over. Go ahead, do what you have to do, because we're not going to engage. I will, if someone says something, I might just say, fine, whatever. I'm going to walk away. My goal is to leave the house and get home feeling good. In the meantime, people are going to challenge that. If I absolutely have to accept the challenge, then I may say, I will communicate quietly. Because you'll notice in angry outbursts, there's volume. So I'm going to be quiet about what I do. I'm going to be slower about what I do. They have a problem with that. Angry people have a problem reacting to that. When you're saying, well, I'm not going to engage you in this. If you want to talk about it later, I'll be glad to. But right now, it's just going to be an argument and we won't solve anything. I stay logical. Now, I'm telling people this, and they're not going to be able to do it right away. I didn't. None of us do. But I say, these are the things you put in your mind, and you go try it. If if it breaks down somewhere, that's not a problem. That's where it told you that where at that particular breakdown point, particularly if it happens often, then that's where you need to start doing a little bit more work. So it's an identifier at best. So go and use all the tools we're working on. Get to the point that you aren't angry. Get to the point where every day you're using these tools as much as you can. And in angry episodes, learn how to pause. Learn how to leave the situation if you must. Take your volume down. It's volume, speed, and what you're saying. So the volume is low. You're talking slower, and you're making some sense. What do you want to do now? Or, I don't think I can do this with you. We'll talk about it later. Stay calm. And if you start to feel it, it's coming, walk away. You almost always have the option to leave. Domestic violence cases, difficult. Cases of, attacks, yeah, got that. But most of the time, we have decisions we can make in these situations. Most of our anger is something we have a decision about. We just have never used it, so it seems like it's an autopilot kind of a thing. This happens, this goes next, and on I go. We don't think about it. It's conscious thought. Put conscious thought into it. Slow down.
And even with domestic violence, I train a lot of people in how to notice as the cycle begins and remove themselves from, beginning of the cycle. Because I had noticed a lot of people, as they watch the cycle start, like the anxiety starts, the frustration starts, the nitpicking starts, that they sometimes, because they know what's going to happen, they actually instigate and provoke it because they figure, I know what happens. Let me just finish this. I know he's going to beat me, and then we'll be fine, or she will beat me, and then we'll be fine. So, but teaching them to do it the other way, which is like remove themselves before this thing shows up, and how to protect themselves out of it. So recognizing that, and as I was hearing you, this word showed up for me, which is people feel threatened, and continue with the anger and abuse moving forward. So part of what you were sharing to me was also, I'm going to show up as less threatening to you. Because when I'm slowing down, when I'm calming down, when my volume is lower, that I'm not, engaging and having this fight with you, I'm telling you, I don't want to fight with you. So no matter how much you want to fight, if I'm not there to fight with you, then ultimately, that should subside, because they're going to feel a little bit safer with us from that perspective. That's what I got from you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The point is that we always have choices. We can make decisions. I just want to get that into people because they really fight that particular notion. No, I don't. When they do this, I don't. Or, I live with this person and I know they're doing it on purpose, or they're doing it over and over again and they know it bothers me. And I said, yeah, but you have choices. First of all, if you're going to respond with anger. Second, it's how you start changing things there. The bottom line is we can do this dance back and forth. I can't, no, you can. Bottom line, do you want to be happy? There are those of us that are willing to work with this. We know we have this just like everyone. We're willing to say, okay, I want to work with this. I want to get better. I can't control you, but I want to get better. That's all I know. I don't want to have those angry thoughts in my head. And it's the other thing we didn't touch on that's so important is internal language and what you're doing with yourself. Because whatever you convince yourself, whatever you're saying to yourself, that's coming out. That's going to be your behavior. And so if you say, I can't do this, that person does this to me and I can't stop, well, then that's what you'll live. On the other hand, if you say to yourself, I am going to stop this. I'm not having these internal conversations. I'm going to have positive thoughts with me. That's all I know. I'm with me. That change, you'd be surprised that'll change half of it, because we are one half of whatever this is. And we're in our heads all day long. We talk to ourselves. We think with language. So I say, if that's the case and you want to be happy, stop worrying about them. Think with positive stuff.
Yes.
Changes.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. The Fix Your Anger Handbook, helping to bring peace and sanity into a turbulent world. Please get this book. It's awesome. You get a lot of not only understanding, but also exercises and tips in how to do that. Faust, anything we haven't talked about that you really want people to know?
I think we've covered a lot. I just want people to understand with anger, as we've been saying, this is something that is fixable. You're not stuck in it for the rest of your life. There are ways to deal with it. If you're having problems, call someone, get help, talk it over. Sometimes you are at a point where you've done as much as you can do at that particular time and you get stuck. That's what we do. We unstick you. We get you to the point that you look at some things a little bit differently. And it's nice to have someone to talk to who is willing to listen, is genuinely interested, and knows some ways out of it. So it's not weakness to get help, it's strength. It's weakness to keep beating your brain up every day with these thoughts. So be willing to get help.
And this book, Fix Your Anger Handbook, is part of a series of Fix Yourself. And you could find your book on Fix Your Anxiety, Fix Your Depression. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, my name, faustforgerald.com. The books are on Amazon, all four are there. We'll be publishing one at the end of the year. The Fix Your Addiction Handbook will be coming out at the end of the year. So anything anyone needs is on the website. Feel free to contact me. I do get back to people.
Beautiful. And love to have you back when your next book on addiction comes, because I've worked 30 years on addiction. So I love to be able to have a conversation with you about it.
Great.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, it has been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy, developed by Dr. Foujan Zain, is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing Awareness Integration Therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.